I think this is what most young adults experience somewhere in their early work years, especially men. I mean, SpongeBob isn't wrong.
Did I say especially men? And is a lesson that is more skewed specifically to kids and more narrowly boys, probably around... More narrowly boys. Why would they use this image of the delivery man from clearly a modern episode?
Luckily, SpongeBob learned to balance these things in the end.
You can kiss your
I so said something about balance. Commentary on the social standards we place on people, especially young men, as they grow. Oh, young men. I didn't even realize I said, because I said earlier boys. It literally lifted young men. That wasn't even what I was looking for. A young guy who's going through a similar situation might really have been relating to SpongeBob and would be nearly in the process of changing their perspective to a much more mature outlook of understanding the balance between growing up and embracing childhood. And that
SpongeBob learned to balance these things in the end.
Guilty. I want a cut, SpongeTruths. I want a cut of the proceeds. Reach out to my people, SpongeTruths. You owe me some money. So apparently SpongeTruths has posted a new video like while I was streaming. SpongeBob's most childish moments. This might have stolen from me, guys. I might have to make a new thumbnail. Hold up. Hold up, guys. Guys, look. The controversial legacy of Grandma's Kisses Bad Lesson. SpongeBob's most childish moments. I mean, I know they're not the same thumbnail. I feel like this is gonna have my stuff in it, right?
SpongeBob is somewhere around his early 30s. I mean, he's a grown adult man after all.
Wait, I think I literally said that. Did I say that in that video?
So apparently...
I said that's... No, I said that in my Sheldon SquarePants. I think I just said that in my Sheldon SquarePants video. I said it because I was talking about how they lived in a retirement community. SpongeBob's parents live in a retirement community, and it makes you kind of know, it gives you a better idea of his age, because when someone's in a retirement community, you assume that they're kind of elderly. And a bunch of people commented and were like, well, you could live in a retirement community when you're 55 plus. And I'm like, I know that, but in a TV show, when you see retirement community, you don't assume like, oh, well, they're exactly 55 and are just eligible. You assume that they're elderly. So in a retirement home, well, then he either had older parents or he's much older than I thought. Like usually you'd be like, what, in your 70s if you're in a retirement home? So I guess if SpongeBob was 35 and he was born when they were 35. Okay, you see the problem? So look, I'm there. I'm questioning the SpongeBob age, and the beginning of the SpongeTruths video is SpongeBob is 30.
Apparently SpongeBob is somewhere around his early 30s. This is also the same guy who had an emotional breakdown at his grandma's house because she stopped giving him cookies. Now look,
guys, I think I gotta cover this one. I think I gotta cover this one instead. I think I need to make a new thumbnail. You guys want to watch me make a new thumbnail? That could be fun. Like, I feel like I just did this one. Didn't I just do this one? This face? I try not to repeat the faces too much. Like, look at my... what faces did I use? Okay, I just did, like, the surprised one. Responding to comments. This one didn't have my face. Okay, I haven't done the pointing one in a while. We'll do the pointing one. What should the text be? I love stealing. But it was just SpongeTruths saying, I love stealing. He loves stealing. Loves to steal. Oh boy, here I go stealing again. Doing this on the fly. Not feeling this background, the Shell City background, or the trench background from the movie. And I feel like he's gonna get blocked by the... Maybe if I do like a... Oh, I think that's a good one. Oh, yeah, there we go. All right, so I'll put like my face like there. And then we'll put like SpongeTruths like there. I just feel like it's too much going on in one thumbnail. Make the fish like he's copying homework. I don't have time to do that kind of crazy stuff. All that. Oh, that would be good though. You know what? I might want to do it. Aspect ratio is too thin. I'd have to like stretch them out. Nah, it's not a good one. Oh no, but you can't tell that it's SpongeTruths looking because I have to block the face. So like this is SpongeTruths and like that's you watching. Oh, you know, it kind of looks like it a little bit. Like, you know? Can we kind of see it? I don't think it reads. It doesn't read, guys. It's not working. Nah, I can't do it. It doesn't read, you know, like meme images, they don't really read on a thumbnail. It's really hard to make it read. It was a nice experiment though. I think SpongeTruths is too big in it. You know what? I think I need to remove me. I think I don't need to be in it. Some of the thumbnails don't need my face in it. It's okay. I'm humble enough to admit that. SpongeTruths can stay in it. He's the villain. Doesn't really read. This is a tough thumbnail. Particularly difficult one to put together. There it is. Okay, that's much better. I can make it red, but I'd have to make the arrow yellow. I'll go with that. That's fine. Kind of makes the SpongeBob stand out a bit. There we go. Thumbnail made. SpongeBob's most childish moments. Sure. Even if this doesn't really steal from me that much, it's clearly going to be a very hollow video. SpongeBob's most childish moments. So already the thesis is...
Also the same guy who had an emotional breakdown at his grandma's house because she stopped giving him cookies. Now look.
That's not really what happens in the episode at all. Like, it's already... Like, clearly that's not from me, because if it was stealing from my video, it would have a more media literate take there. Like, it would say the actual reason why that matters, like how that works in the story, like how the fact that him not eating cookies with the grandma is representative of his, you know, character arc and all that. Maybe it will take that. Like, I remember in the Bizarro Bottom video of his that stole from me, it said the stuff like there's no story here and all that.
Then there's a third version, one that easily becomes a disaster when you carry it too far. So fortunately, more...
All right, so it looks like it's covering multiple episodes, so that would be a little different from my Grandma's Kisses video, because my Grandma's Kisses video... I mean, I did cover Squid Baby at the end of the Grandma's Kisses video, but I don't think it's talking about Squid Baby.
More often than not, SpongeBob has a good childish side. In fact, I think this is what made us fall in love with the show in the first place. And one of the best examples...
Yeah, kind of cold take, but yeah, the thing about SpongeBob that makes it such a good, like, kids show is that it has that balance between it's like enjoyable for kids to watch because they can relate to SpongeBob on a childish side, but adults still enjoy watching it because SpongeBob acts in a way that is more relatable to us. Whereas if you have a show where the main character is a kid who goes to school, people who are a little older might have trouble relating to that character. It's a way of making SpongeBob a more timeless show for everyone. And by timeless, it's not even time period, it's timeless in terms of age.
I can give you is Idiot Box from season 3. Of course, what kind of normal adults would do that? But then he starts hearing all these sounds coming from the box. Mountain climbing,
All right, I covered this episode too.
Two grown men sitting in a box, completely...
What is this wobbling thing that they do?
...committed to whatever world they've
I
decided.
hate this so much when they go, the faces like wobble back and forth. They've been doing... Didn't the No Villains Are Safe video that we looked at not too long ago do that too?
SpongeBob and Patrick didn't need a real spaceship or a real racetrack. They just needed to believe it hard enough. More than that, I think there's something actually kind of...
Feel like that took... I'm going to see my Idiot Box video, see how similar that is to what I said. Or, if you look a little deeper, perhaps what Squidward is hearing is the fun that SpongeBob and Patrick are having with their imaginations, which so that's kind of what SpongeTruths said here a little bit. So what I said is what Squidward is hearing is the fun that SpongeBob and Patrick are having with their imaginations. And SpongeTruths said...
doing it. However, the real trick behind all that noise is that they're just imagining it. That's it.
So SpongeTruths said the exact same thing, but SpongeTruths said it as an absolute, like that is like the answer, where I said it as ambiguity, because the point of the episode actually is that it's ambiguous. It doesn't ever confirm what the imagination box does. That's the point of the story. If it did confirm either or, like if it confirmed that they actually had a tape recorder or their imaginations were magic, or Squidward was just hearing it because their imaginations were they were just that good at it. If it confirmed any of those things, the story wouldn't work. The story only works if it's ambiguous. So SpongeTruths saying that it is that is actually not understanding the story, because AI can't understand the story. It just took, I assume, from my video when I made that statement, and it put that into its training data, because my video is a very prominent video on this topic. It's a very prominent and a very recent video on this topic, so it has a more like fresh perspective on it from mine. And there probably are older videos that have that too. Maybe it didn't particularly take it from mine. You know, it's always alleged stealing this, that. But let's say it did take it from me. It took my statement of the box being just their imaginations is one of the possibilities. It framed it as the possibility, and it makes you look at the episode in a worse way. So this is actually an interesting way. If you look at this, you can consider the idea of some people who will defend AI will say that, well, it comes from somewhere. So if the AI has an opinion, it will be an opinion that someone else had, but the AI is just like giving it. The AI is just figuring it out. It's thinking on its own, just as a human would. And this is where we can kind of see where that has failed, where it takes either from my video or from someone else's. Someone was talking about how the box could be the box could just be their imagination, and is saying it like it's fact, like that's the only part of it, because the AI can't really understand the context, so it's going to get it wrong. And also that is a statement that is media illiterate. It's not understanding the actual episode and what it's really about and what its themes are. So it creates an inferior opinion that weakens our perspectives of shows. So its critique is just going to be villainizing the Bob, since the second it sees a bad trait, it flips completely. Most likely, we have been seeing this a couple of times. We saw this with the video I just covered on Narlene, where it did an anti-Narlene video, and it did a video a little while back that was an anti-Patrick video. So I feel like because this video is weighted against SpongeBob, it said, write me a video where SpongeBob is childish. The video is going to be very biased against SpongeBob because that's what the prompt did. Whereas, didn't the Patrick is a bad friend video reference Grandma's Kisses and say that Patrick was a bad friend because of Grandma's Kisses? He's wrapped up in the idea of seeing and hearing the literal things the same way he would by watching TV. He's wrapped up in finding a button or a switch that makes the box turn on. Man, can you just hear the difference in just how my scripts are structured? Like, it's night and day, man. Like, I don't mean to toot my own horn, but like, if you don't hear the difference, like, get your hearing checked. He's wrapped up in the box itself, but it's not the box, it's the imagination. Squidward never overcomes this character flaw. In the final scene, he nearly gets it and almost accepts that it really was their imagination, but immediately falls right back into his doubts. A tragic anti-character arc indeed. It's in this moment that he starts to... This is why I make videos, man. Saying stuff like that. Like, it's important for us to look at media the way that I just described it. Like, we need more of that, you know? Like, less like what I said there, it was stating that it's teaching a lesson. It's not about, oh, Squidward was a jerk, so like he gets sent to the dump because he was rude. Like, it's actually talking about the rejection of the perspective that the story is trying to tell. And that's the point. That's why I do this, is so there needs to be something there. There needs to be someone out there who's talking about that stuff, because I think it's incredibly important. Here, the box turning into a race car, which is actually a garbage truck taking the box to the dump, giving Squidward a final punishment for not overcoming. Did you just hear me laugh? Like, I have a little laugh where I said box to the dump. That was genuine. I actually, when I was reading it off the teleprompter, I remember giggling in the moment, and I just kept the take. Like, I just kept going. I didn't retake it because I felt like the laugh was very genuine. Compare this to what we watched with No Villains Are Safe a little earlier, and his fake laughs and his fake, ooh, like Karen looks so nice in the dress, you know? Yeah. Like, only humans should make videos, man. Like, it's so bad that there's just thousands of people sitting and watching stuff that is not of this quality.
Now, Secret Box still has the same energy, even though he's clearly gaslighting SpongeBob to be curious about it.
That's not what gaslighting is. I hate when I hate when most people use the phrase gaslighting. It is a bit of, I think the term gaslighting is kind of going away, because I think people know that it's like being overused to the point where like it doesn't really work anymore. You know, I think that's an AI tell. I think using gaslighting, and I feel like a human writer would avoid the word gaslighting now because it has that connotation of like therapy speak. You know what I mean? But AI is trained on so much data that like that word is so out there that it would still use it. Whereas I think culturally we've moved on a lot from the term gaslighting, especially something as shallow as like Patrick was gaslighting him into asking about it. Like, what?
So SpongeBob takes the bait and spends the entire runtime
Wait, also that was about Squidward, the idiot. I guess it was about SpongeBob being imaginative. I guess it's saying that SpongeBob being imaginative is positive. What does the secret box have to do with him being childish?
Patrick did reveal later on that it hides an embarrassing photo of SpongeBob making a stupid face at a crisp.
Why is this relevant? Why are you just recapping the episode that we've all seen a million times?
Pretty clear that Patrick had planned to do this all along. He just wanted to rage bait SpongeBob for the whole day because it's not like he'd have anything better to do anyway. However,
it's almost like it's still weighted against. It's almost like the AI program remembered that it wanted bias against Patrick before. Why is he talking about Patrick being like Machiavellian trying to? No, man, like he just was. That would make the episode so much less funny if Patrick was like baiting him on purpose with the box. No, the point is that Patrick has this like secret thing. Also, that's media illiterate because that's not what the point of the story is, to teach a lesson of when your friend has a secret, you need to respect your friend's secret. But in real life, in that situation, the friend isn't trying to tell you the secret. They genuinely don't want you to know the secret. So it's the same with Patrick. But if you're saying, oh, Patrick is gaslighting him, Patrick wants him to do it because Patrick's such a bad friend because your previous AI prompt was biased against Patrick and you hadn't cleared the history yet, it just misses the actual statement of the story.
Bad as the breaking into your friend's house was, I don't think SpongeBob really overreacted.
It uses therapy speak to try to make itself an authority figure. True. That's so true. That's such a strategy that it would use, huh? Why do so many AI scripts say nothing better to do? This is like the 5th time I've heard SpongeBob AI recaps use that phrase. Huh. You're so right. I mean, I guess we were looking at No Villains Are Safe earlier. Like, they were talking about themselves. They were saying, I had nothing better to do than watch SpongeBob to make this video. But yeah, this did say that, didn't it?
It's not like he'd have anything better to do anyway. However,
You know why I think it says that? You know why I think it says that so much? Because it's a great way for it to make nothing points. That's why it says that so much, because the goal. So remember, this is, the goal of AIs is to keep you using them. It's the same thing with YouTube, by the way, or any sort of like, social media, TikTok, all of these platforms, anything that is internet based, or even like TV shows like cable. The point of anything that makes money based on how much you use it wants you to use it for as much as possible. So AI is just like that. Is just another thing that does that. So AI chatbots want you to use it for as much as possible. And in order for it to do that, it has to keep talking. AI doesn't want to make a not conclusive statement. So saying, because he had nothing better to do, is now giving a reason that is a non-reason. It's actually very telling that it says Patrick did it because he had nothing better to do, because Patrick doesn't do that. That's not Patrick's motivation. Because he's not doing it on purpose. Patrick is the passive character in the secret box. Patrick is not SpongeBob is the protagonist. SpongeBob is the active protagonist who makes choices. Patrick is the passive character. Patrick is the one who has the thing that SpongeBob wants to actively go and invade the privacy of and look into. So, because Patrick is the passive character, the AI can't come up with a thing for him to do that is the AI can't come up with a motivation because he has no motivation. That's not how he's written. And the AI has no media literacy. So the AI doesn't have a thing where it goes, Patrick is the passive character, so I'm not going to say that Patrick was doing something actively, because he wouldn't. The passive character wouldn't do that. I would only say that about SpongeBob. AI doesn't understand that. I understand that. I went to school for this. When the AI tries to justify something to say more words, it'll just default to meaningless platitudes like he did it because he had nothing else to do. And that's why it says it so much. I'm sure the only reason it brought up secret box is because it also has box in the title. Like it found Idiot Box and is like, what's the closest episode to Idiot Box? It is a weird example because this is not a very childish episode. Actually, I would argue that, Secret Box is a lesson that kids can learn. Absolutely. There are times where like kids will like have a secret from each other. Or kids need to learn what a secret is. And usually you learn that as a kid. So like, I get it. Like I can kind of see the idea of this being a kid-centric episode. But the way that the episode is handled, I think what makes this such a brilliant episode is that the secret box is a lesson that you learn as a kid, keeping someone's secret. That'll usually happen to you in like elementary school. Someone will tell you a secret, you let the secret slip, you feel bad, and then you don't make that mistake when you get older. You usually make that mistake when you're a kid, and then if you're a mature person, it never happens again. The point of an episode like The Secret Box is to teach a kid that lesson before they make that mistake, so they never make that mistake. But what makes Secret Box a very brilliant episode is that SpongeBob and Patrick operate like adults. You know, like Patrick is very mature in this episode, actually. He says, listen, if you violate this boundary, we will not be friends anymore. Like, that's pretty huge coming from a character like Patrick, who's such a bad friend, setting, according to SpongeTruths, setting that like clear boundary. And then at the end, when SpongeBob does explain himself, he does like forgive him. I got to give Patrick a lot of credit in this episode, like, or not a lot of credit to Patrick himself. I mean, in the terms of the story, is showing a very mature way to deal with someone who wants to know your secret. Is you can give them a fake secret that satisfies them. So the string satisfies SpongeBob as the fake secret, and then the real secret is obviously the photo that Patrick didn't want him to know about. Actually very mature on Patrick's part. And sure, like it's a little childish in some places, but I don't see a lot of childishness in this episode other than the fact that, yeah, it's a thing that kids go through, but adults can go through that too. There's times where adults want to know someone's secret and they will go out of their way to try and learn it, and it will hurt the friendship. That's an all ages problem. So I'm not sure how this is relevant to SpongeTruth's argument.
These two episodes are basically the core idea for what SpongeBob's childishness is supposed to be.
Those episodes are completely unrelated. That's such a stretch. It is literally like what the person said. They're just two episodes that have box on the title. I think the similarities begin and end there. They are two episodes that have box in the title, and they're two episodes that take place just about entirely on Conch Street. And they're both episodes of SpongeBob SquarePants. Those are where the similarities begin and end. That is not a thesis of like what SpongeBob's childishness is. Also, aren't you saying that those are the positive elements of SpongeBob's childishness? In The Secret Box, he has the character flaw. He's wrong in The Secret Box. SpongeBob is in the wrong. That's the whole point. He has the negative perspective. That's why at the end of the episode, SpongeBob is the butt of the joke. The reason that Patrick pulls out the thing and goes, it's an embarrassing photo of SpongeBob at the Christmas party, that is almost, it's in the same vein of being a narratively deserved punishment. Even though SpongeBob doesn't get the punishment, like SpongeBob doesn't know that it's the embarrassing photo, we know that SpongeBob doesn't want it to be the embarrassing photo. So SpongeBob being the butt of the joke at the end, we are okay with that as the audience because SpongeBob was in the wrong in the episode, and him being the butt of the joke at the end helps communicate that message. Idiot Box, SpongeBob is in the right. SpongeBob represents the correct position, the correct perspective that the author behind the story believes that you should hold. Squidward represents the wrong perspective. Squidward isn't in this episode. It's just SpongeBob and Patrick. Patrick is supposed to be right. SpongeBob is supposed to be wrong. There's a little bit of ambiguity between the two of them, as all stories will have that, but that is generally the idea of it.
Be about being so genuinely invested in small things that the whole world feels bigger because of it. Now, those are...
That's incoherent. That has nothing to do with anything. That is just saying words for the sake of saying words. At least the words weren't stolen from me.
The obvious picks for the good ones. But his childishness isn't always that simple. Rockabye Bye...
This swinging thing, is this new? I feel like this is in like
Those are the
all of their
obvious
videos now.
for the good ones. But his childishness isn't always
This is gonna go away too, because this is gonna get criticized, and they're gonna be like, oh, all these AI channels do this weird thing where they fling them back and forth, and then they're all gonna stop. It's gonna be like the white backgrounds all over again, where all the AI channels make the white backgrounds, and people made videos where they're like, AI white background thumbnail.
Rockabye Bivalve and Nature Pants are technically still in the same neighborhood, but there's something.
Those are two very adult episodes, actually. Like adult in terms of SpongeBob acts like an adult in those episodes. One of them, he acts like a parent. And in the other one, he's making like definitive choices about his own life and like quitting his job and stuff. Those are very not childish episodes. I don't know why it's bringing those up.
Nature Pants is the one where SpongeBob just quits his entire life to go live among the jellyfish. As brave or wholesome as SpongeBob's decision is, I think it's child.
I actually wouldn't 100% refute that. I don't think it applies to this video though. Like I get it. Like you would make a decision like that because you'd be like kid-like. I don't know, man.
Rockabye Bivalve is SpongeBob and Patrick finding a random baby scout.
Oh, is it saying like how kids will like act like parents? Is why Rockabye Bivalve is childish?
Is it childish? Yes, especially if you understand that bad parents could easily come from a childish adult kind of situation. They're still thinking about themselves first rather than about their...
This is just saying words to say words.
And no episode captures that better than Grandma's Kisses.
Okay, so 6 is most of the, I'm going to skip ahead. Is most of the video about Grandma's Kisses? No, not most of the videos about Grandma's Kisses. It actually jumps to No Weenies Allowed. Oh, and Muscle Bob. Okay, so not most of the videos about Grandma's Kisses. It's about a ton of different episodes. I usually talk about multiple episodes in my videos, but it's just so unfocused, and I feel like this is a hallmark of some of these AI channels now. Or this is kind of a no Villains Are Safe also does this. Like a lot of the things with these AI channels is when you cover one episode and review one episode for a whole 14, 18 minutes or so, it becomes a little clear that you're like doing a lot of recapping, that you're not really getting a whole, that you're not really having a lot of substance. When you keep jumping between episodes, it probably obfuscates that a lot better. We saw this with that one video that was just a review of Sailor Mouth, and like that was it. Although that video did pretty well for them, but most of the videos are like a bunch of different episodes.
However, Squidward actually manages to get the whole restaurant to laugh at him. SpongeBob immediately cries, of course.
Just recapping. I can't say it's stealing from me because it's just recapping the episode. Let's see what its actual substance is.
Both show up to Grandma's house wearing fake sideburns, refusing
Look at this.
all of this completely seriously. They both show up to Grandma's house wearing fake sideburns.
They put the arrows pointing to the side. Like, why? Does that actually make a difference? I don't get the editing while you're recapping. Just show the footage. You can do like fancy edits when you're making your own points. The pointing to it. You're just saying the plot of the episode.
Beneath all the trophies for the best fry cook in town is just a guy who really misses his...
Beneath all the trophies for the best fry cook in town. You hear this like a nothing statement. It's just finding things to say.
I think this is what most young adults experience somewhere in their early work years, especially men. I mean, SpongeBob isn't wrong.
Did I say especially men? And as a lesson that is more skewed specifically to kids and more narrowly boys, probably around... More narrowly boys. So to kids, more narrowly boys. So I said it in a way where you don't have to be a boy to relate to this episode. If you're not that gender, then like you probably could still relate to the episode. I was talking more about like certain social stigmas are more against young boys to be like less childish is why I pointed that out. But SpongeTruths lifted that right from me. Right from me. Why would they use this image of the delivery man from clearly a modern episode?
Luckily, SpongeBob learned to balance these things in the end.
You can kiss your
I so said something about balance. Commentary on the social standards we place on people, especially young men, as they grow. Oh, young men. I didn't even realize because I said earlier boys. It literally lifted young men. That wasn't even what I was looking for. A young guy who's going through a similar situation might really have been relating to SpongeBob and would be nearly in the process of changing their perspective to a much more mature outlook of understanding the balance between growing up and embracing childhood. And that
SpongeBob learned to balance these things in the end.
Guilty. I want to cut SpongeTruths. I want a cut of the proceeds. Reach out to my people, SpongeTruths. You owe me some money. They even used the same clip when they said it? Wait, really? No, they didn't. Did they? Sure, been relating to SpongeBob and would be nearly in the process of changing their perspective to a much more mature outlook of understanding the balance between growing up and embracing childhood. They use the same clip around it, yeah.
No, which, honestly, that's a whole other problem, but so what? Haters gonna hate. Now, Muscle Bob Buffpan...
Oh, haters gonna hate. Haters gonna hate. So SpongeTruths be like, yeah, you're just a hater. We just happen to come up with the exact same points on the episode. And notice, you know how I know it stole from me? Because it says the balance... like the balance between these two things, but it doesn't have any of the other like elaborations around it, like any of the other stuff that I said that led to that. It's such a shallow video, and it's just saying it's just recapping and doing the most milquetoast things, and then in the middle of it, it goes, and then he learned the balance that it took right from me because it sounds good to say that.
A sponge is not known for its muscle. Everybody knows that, but...
Does everybody know that? A sponge is not known for its muscle. I mean, why would you say it like that? Like, because I feel like when I watch this episode, even when I watched this episode as a kid, I wouldn't be like, oh yeah, SpongeBob's weak because he's a sponge. I would just think that he's weak because he's kind of a, he's not really that kind of character. He's not like a tough guy character. So of course he wouldn't be like really physically strong. So to be like sponges, again, it's just the AI finding words to say.
But SpongeBob soon realizes maybe the gym bro's life isn't really for him.
It's time.
The gym bro's life. Trying to use that like lingo. Like that's such obvious like lingo that it just pulls that from like people say gym bro sometimes in situations like this. And that's the only reason it's saying it. Also, this doesn't have anything to do with childishness. It's such a stretch. It's actually not that far off from the whole like, does Mr. Krabs have a fetish? Where like it's just like it's taking things that are vaguely in the ballpark and just being like, yeah, they're childish. Like Muscle Bob Buff Pants, like, sure. Like, I guess a child would do something like that where they'd like want to be stronger and like get a fake arms or whatever. But like, not really. Like it kind of works for everyone. Like something about Grandma's Kisses that I said in my Grandma's Kisses video is Grandma's Kisses is noteworthy as a SpongeBob episode because it is a lesson that is more geared towards kids. It's more something you experience as a kid, like what happens in Grandma's Kisses with being close with your grandmother and feeling like more childish. Like it's, that's kind of more of a kid lesson. Whereas like Secret Box, like Muscle Bob Buff Pants, like these are two examples where they're childish ways of acting, but they're really timeless lessons in terms of age. And SpongeTruths is just stretching it so they can put it in their list of episodes they talk about. Instead of, what I did where I focused pretty much entirely on Grandma's Kisses. Like, like talking about all these episodes so little. Like, look at all the different episodes it's talking about. Like, in an 18-minute video, you don't have enough time to cover all those.
He orders inflatable muscle arms from TV and just straps them on. And for a brief...
Yes, that's the point of the story. Yes, is he should have gotten stronger by putting in the work, and he bought a thing that he lied about it. Yes, that is the story. Do you have any unique takes beyond the thing that is already presented in the base narrative? No?
When it comes to actual weightlifting...
Look, it's him! Look, SpongeTruths, it's you! You're in the episode! Whenever my fiance and I watch SpongeBob now, whenever we see this background character, Tom, whenever we see this background fish, she'll always be like, look, it's SpongeTruths. So we hate this background character now. Every time he's the chocolate guy. So whenever we see him in the background of a scene, we're like, oh, it's SpongeTruths. Like we hate SpongeTruths. So because we think of him as SpongeTruths because it's always that face. Tom has been ruined. Ruined Tom. I hate Tom now because of SpongeTruths. Wait, why ice cubes? What do you mean by that? What did you put in my drink? Honestly, that's couple goals. Oh, thank you. Tom needs to sue for defamation. For real. Well, he's gonna have to get in line. SpongeTruths owes me for the videos he stole from me. He owes Tom for his likeness. He poisoned our water supply. Literally poisoned our water supply. Literally, SpongeTruths poisoned our water supply. You can say that and it's accurate.
Kid doesn't really think 2 steps ahead, at least most of them. A kid sees a problem, then they would try to find the quickest solution and commit to it completely without considering what happens next, just like SpongeBob does here. He just thought about how good it would feel to walk in there, look.
Bro, that is not childish. I mean, it is childish, but like adults do that all the time. What are you talking about? He just made a hasty decision based on his insecurity. That's it. There's like no reason to call that childish. At least in the context of the thesis or whatever the thesis should be of this video.
However, it pains me to say there are also lots of adults who experience these kinds of situations in real life. I know a few of them, maybe even myself sometimes. You made the
self-deprecating joke. Maybe even myself sometimes. Yeah, do you sometimes try to be something you're not, SpongeTruths? Like, do you try to be a human being when you're actually a cold, unfeeling robot? Maybe you should just take a lesson from this episode and just embrace who you are and just like calculate numbers and data and not try to write videos because you're not cut out for it.
Sorry, Weenie Hut General. But here's the thing. SpongeBob doesn't need to be in the salty spittoon. The only reason he wanted in was because someone told him he couldn't. That's it. Just like a child hearing, you can't do.
That's not why at all. He does not only want to go in the salty spittoon. He wants to go in because Sandy goes in. Which is also childish. I mean, like... But it's also about his self-acceptance. It's about, like, I could tell that I covered this episode. I did a Salty Spittoon video about the 3 Salty Spittoon episodes. Surprise, surprise, this was the best one. Although, the first Salty Spittoon reference episode was actually pretty good in Modern SpongeBob. I actually kind of like the Salty Sponge. But it definitely didn't steal from me because this is way too shallow of an analysis. Like, it's about his insecurity. It's actually very similar to Muscle Bob Buff Pants. But it's just his insecurities. He thinks he's a tough guy, so he wants to be in the salty spittoon because he thinks he's a tough guy. He doesn't belong there. It's not just because someone told him no. He tried to get in before anyone told him no. He was already walking in, and then Reg told him no, but he already wanted to go in before that.
This is where the whole thing tips into something almost philosophical. So one evening, SpongeBob cracks his rear end while sandboarding. The doctor tells him one more injury and he'll end up.
I had an accident is probably the least childish. I know kids can get freaked out with like they get scared of the world, but the agoraphobia in I had an accident is very much the result of like that's a very adult kind of anxiety, like leaving yourself in your house. Like, kids can get anxious like that, sure. They can get afraid of, like, the world and, like, getting hurt and stuff. But, like, you know, I don't see it. I see that, like, it can be relatable to a kid, but, like, it's just very weird choices. SpongeTruths is in the iron butt. I didn't even notice that. It is SpongeTruths. Guys, this is how he makes the videos. See, he puts his butt up there, and then in there, and then this is the machine that makes SpongeTruths videos, guys. This is how they do it. Oh man, it itches.
up in an iron butt, which is exactly as horrible as it sounds. And SpongeBob, driven by that fear,
which is exactly as horrible as, I guess you would know you did have it. I would refute that and say, how would you know that you didn't? It's just a show. But I guess you were in it. You were there.
decided that he is done with the outside world permanently. What's funny is that he adapts incredibly quickly. He makes friends with a chip, a penny, and a piece of tissue, and
he adapts incredibly quickly? What do you mean? Him making friends with the chip and the penny is not him adapting. It's him. He's wrong, bro. Again, what no media literacy does. It's bad that he doesn't leave his house and that he acts like he's friends with a chip. AI knows about making friends with lifeless objects. True. AI would have an agenda of being like, yeah, if you just sit in your house all day and never go outside, that would be better for AI, because then people would have like AI friends or AI partners or whatever, and would just talk to AI all day instead of actual real people.
Something almost admirable about how fully SpongeBob commits to his bad decision, like the inability to sit with discomfort and do something with it. I mean, most adults...
What? It's totally praising that he doesn't leave his house. That's so crazy.
And staying away from the world is the solution, which is, again, exactly how a kid processes a bad experience. All these episodes...
No, man, adults feel that way too. Adults totally feel that way. The agoraphobia in I Had an Accident is much more similar to how an adult would deal with it than a kid. Especially because it's a medical thing. Like, I'm sure a kid, like, maybe a kid breaks their arm or something and they're, like, afraid to go to the park, or, you know, like, it could happen. It could definitely be a kid thing. But, like, Grandma's Kisses is the only one that is, like, specifically childlike. And maybe Idiot Box. Maybe Idiot Box, because they're, like, playing in a box. I could see that as well. But Idiot Box is for a much more adult lesson, even though it's a very childish situation. Whereas Grandma's Kisses is a lesson that could be related to by an adult. Absolutely, an adult could relate to Grandma's Kisses, but it's much more of a child-skewed lesson.
Episodes are still funny and memorable.
Why was a pal for Gary? Bro just put the wrong title card. I think that was supposed to be Idiot Box or Grandma's Kisses. Why would you get a pal for... Where did that come from? That's not even from these are all classic episodes. This is from like season 6. How did a pal for Gary get in there?
To be honest, I'd never imagined myself one day sitting here and analyzing SpongeBob step by step to cope with his problem. But here...
What did that even mean? I never imagined so it's doing like one of those like no villains are safe things where it's like, instead of doing something productive with my week, I analyzed a kid show. Again, like just like downplaying the whole like reviewing shows. Like, oh, like it's so silly. It's so this. I hate that. I hate that attitude. I hate it from humans. All right. Reviewing cartoons is actually pretty difficult, and it's actually pretty... It actually, I think, is pretty important, and you have to actually know a lot about the arts in order to actually do it. So I hate that attitude.
Here we are. But now we're getting to the third kind, the one that stopped being by step to...
But what is he saying here?
To be honest, I'd never imagined myself one day sitting here and analyzing SpongeBob step by step to cope with it.
Analyzing SpongeBob step by step to cope. I don't know what it's saying. It doesn't make any sense.
This problem. But here we are. But now we're getting...
What does that mean? That was so incoherent. I'm genuinely at a loss. Analyzing SpongeBob step by step to cope for what? Analyzing media literacy is so important. Genuinely, thank you. Yeah, I know. Like I think it's so much more important than people give it credit for. Like these things matter so much more. And I think a lot of YouTubers don't want to say that, one, because they think like people will like flame them for it. Like, you think you're so like... But no, I think that what I do is important. I do. Why would I do it if I didn't think it was important? Why would I even do this? Like, I don't want to do something that's not important. Check the transcript. Okay, maybe I'll try to see.
Self with a bad experience. All these episodes are still funny and memorable. To be honest, I'd never imagined myself one day sitting here and analyzing SpongeBob step by step to cope with this problem. But
analyzing SpongeBob step by step to cope with this problem. So they, SpongeTruths, have the problem, so they're analyzing SpongeBob to cope with the problem that they have? What's SpongeTruth's problem?
Analyzing SpongeBob step by step to cope with his problem, but
What does that mean? The transcript made me more confused.
here we are. But now we're getting
Cope with this, meaning that SpongeTruths has a problem that he's coping with by analyzing SpongeBob? Did SpongeTruths say something at the beginning about how like is SpongeTruths like depressed or something? And he's trying to like reclaim his childhood by watching SpongeBob? Guys, do we need to check on SpongeTruths? SpongeTruths, listen, SpongeTruths. After you send me 40% of the revenue for this video that you owe me, I'm here for you. All right, SpongeTruths? We could talk about it. All right? I'm here for you. All right? SpongeTuber to SpongeTuber. All right? If you need help, SpongeTruths, I'm here for you. Okay? After you send me the money you owe me. Dude, if anyone can facilitate the SpongeTruths redemption arc, it's me. Okay? Who is this person? Why do they do what they do? You know what's kind of sad, though? SpongeTruths is probably from an impoverished area. That's probably the actual person behind it. It doesn't excuse what they're doing. It doesn't excuse the videos. But, like, you know, it could be, like, I don't know. It could be someone who lives 20 miles from me who's just doing it to get that bag. But I think that there's someone commented saying that they think that they might be Russian because of some of the ways that a Russian phrase would be translated into some of their like speaking quirks. Someone said that once, that it's a possibility. But I think that there's someone who is probably from an area that is not doing too well, and again, does not excuse this. You know, it's like the people who like scam your grandma, you know, they all have that excuse. You know, if you watch the people who like call out the scammers, the scam hunters, that's what they always say. They're like, well, we don't have much money here. Like, it's not an excuse. But that's probably what SpongeTruths actually is. So like beyond that, like a problem like that isn't solved by like talking to them and being like, don't you like, I mean, like, maybe, I don't know. SpongeTruths wants to talk. Bro, if I could interview SpongeTruths, that would be like amazing. Like the person behind it, I want to talk to them. I would not be afraid at all. I want to hear their side of it. I do. I'm ripping on these people all the time. I would gladly hear their sides of it. It's what you would have to do if you're someone like me who's ripping on these people. You would have to be willing to hear them out. I would want nothing more than to hear them out. And you know what? I'd be nice. I would be very nice. I'd ask hard questions for sure. But I would be very nice. SpongeTruths, anyone working for SpongeTruths or No Villains Are Safe, I would love to hear their story. And like, you know, because I just want to know why. I want to know what's going on here.
However, I want to be careful about how I say this because there's a
Oh, he wants to be careful about do you maybe want to be careful about how you say whatever the heck you said before? Because I didn't know what you meant.
And a pal for Gary from season 7 is probably the clearest place where you can see.
Oh, they mixed it up. The editor screwed up. So the editor used the Pal for Gary title card back here. Probably was in place of a different title card. You know what probably no, well, all the other title cards are in there. I don't know what happened. I mean, it's sloppy. It's sloppy work for sure. But they probably underpay the editor. Recapping. My God, just say SpongeBob got... What did I say when I covered this? A Pal for Gary is the most mean-spirited Gary-focused episode, and that makes its mean-spiritedness even worse. Stories will always have something bad happen. Okay, so notice how I start when I talk about A Pal for Gary. I start by talking about how it's specifically Gary-focused. So I'm already setting an opinion. No, SpongeTruths immediately, A Pal for Gary... I guess they set up that it's about SpongeBob being childish, sure, but like it's just immediately into the recapping without like the proper stuff. Bad thing that is happening to an animal. It is a lot harder to enjoy what we are watching. See, usually when something bad happens to a character, it is either... So see how I didn't even establish that SpongeBob bought Puffy Fluffy and like wanted it to keep Gary company? Like I didn't do any of that. I just start with talking about the meat of it. oh, this episode, and I'm making a different point. I'm not talking about SpongeBob being childish. I'm talking about the episode being mean-spirited. But like, I go into it by saying that what makes this episode mean-spirited is that the bad thing is happening to an animal. Animals are innocent, unlike people. People can make bad choices. And when people make bad choices in a narrative, they can get punished for them, and that can teach the lesson. But with an animal, since an animal can't make bad choices, obviously it depends on how the animal is portrayed. But in Gary's case in this episode, Gary is just an animal that wouldn't really make bad choices. It just comes off as mean-spirited, and I'm making that argument. So I go right into it with just saying, oh, when a bad thing happens to an animal, and I show the footage of the puffy fluffy with the teeth and all that. Harder to enjoy what we are watching. See, usually, and like it's already obvious from context, like even if you've never seen that episode, you'd be like, okay, in this episode, something bad happens to Gary. There's like a monster that's attacking Gary. And in that moment, you don't need to know all the context. You're fine if you don't know why there's a monster or why there's this. You know, oh, something bad is happening to Gary. That's what makes it mean-spirited because Gary's an animal. And then we'll see how do I explain it after. When something bad happens to a character, it is either used to make a statement about their past behavior, or it's to meaningfully challenge them. Both of these reasons work best with sapient beings like humans, or in the case of SpongeBob, characters that are based on animals but behave like humans. Animals operate on instinct and are not subject to making moral choices. As such, all non-human animals are inherently innocent creatures. This does not mean that something bad can never happen to an innocent animal in a story. It just so see how like most of what I'm saying is like writing philosophy, like so little, like how much of what I just said was actually recapping Pal for Gary. Something bad happens to Gary. That's basically all I said there. I'm trying to say as little as possible that is recapping the episode. Whereas SpongeTruths will like lean right into it, or the AI will lean right into it, because what's easier for the AI to come up with than just restating what happens in the episode itself. The story could have still worked even with everything Gary goes through if the message of the story was framed through SpongeBob learning something through the suffering of his pet. But SpongeBob is so oblivious in this episode that nothing really happens other than this poor snail getting worked over. The episode has a hard time deciding if Gary is... Yeah, like I don't even like say that SpongeBob does this or does that. You know, I don't even say that SpongeBob like buys the Puffy Fluffy or this. I just say that he's oblivious. You can already put it together, right? Even if you've never seen this episode, you can kind of see SpongeBob's oblivious. There's another animal that's attacking Gary. You can tell what's going on. You don't need the thing. End of the episode, it is Gary who saves SpongeBob by lassoing the monster. Yeah, I don't even say the plot. I think it's not, I think it just wasn't necessary. If anything, I might have actually said too little of the plot. I might have written this just assuming that everyone knows the plot of this episode. It's been talked about so much. So I might have actually had a little too little recapping. I don't know. Do you think if someone's never seen this episode, would they be confused on the plot, or was it like just enough? Because I don't care about recapping the plot. I want to talk, like, look, I got this video is 28 minutes long. This is a 28-minute video. Most of it is not recapping on my part. Like I clearly have no trouble getting a good length. Let's see what I say about SpongeBob and see if SpongeTruths says something similar. Let's do a SpongeBob first on my part and look for it in SpongeTruths, and we'll see if he copied from me. A pal for Gary doesn't meaningfully punish SpongeBob at all. Sure, his house gets all messed up by the monster, but SpongeBob doesn't react to it much, so it's clearly not framed as his narrative punishment. He doesn't even meaningfully realize how poorly he treated Gary throughout the episode. At the very end, when SpongeBob decides to take Gary to work, it almost seems as though Gary gets punished with the whole free labor comment from Krabs. The whole episode seems like it's trying to make a statement about irresponsible pet ownership, but by over-punishing the pet and under-punishing the irresponsible owner, its message got jumbled into one big mean-spirited mess. All right, so basically my commentary is SpongeBob didn't get punished in the episode, so he didn't learn his lessons. So let's see what SpongeTruths has to say when they say anything of even the remotest substance here.
And yet, SpongeBob sees all this, he hears all the noises, he walks past the destruction, he watches Gary fighting for his life in that library, only to say this.
Well, Gary, what do you have to say for yourself?
The biggest difference here is...
Again, all I said was SpongeBob was oblivious in the episode. That would be accomplished with that same thing. Not if you want to get to 18 minutes with nothing to say, though.
that in Idiot Box, or even in I Had an Accident, the only person inconvenienced by his bad decision was SpongeBob himself. But in A Pal for Gary...
What? Wait, what? In Idiot Box, the only person inconvenienced by his bad decision is SpongeBob himself. False? No one's inconvenienced in Idiot Box. Yeah, you know, Squidward gets all upset about the box and all that, and that messes him up, but SpongeBob is not inconvenienced at all in Idiot Box. He has fun the whole time. SpongeBob's just vibing in Idiot Box. I guess you could even argue that his actions indirectly inconvenience Squidward, because Squidward gets all in a tizzy about the box. I guess if it is true that they played a tape recorder, then that would be false, because they would have been messing with Squidward on purpose. If you have that interpretation of it, because it doesn't confirm nor deny if that's what happens. Wouldn't really be a realistic way to read the episode, though. SpongeBob doesn't really have a history of doing that. In I Had an Accident, what do you mean? He completely inconveniences everyone. His friends want to hang out with him and he won't leave his house. That's so inconveniencing your friends. Like, you know, like, and like AI doesn't really understand that nuance. We kind of talked about this with the Patrick friendship one, where like, yes, in a vacuum, you as a person are allowed to be like, oh, well, I don't want to hang out with my friends today. You know, if you don't want to. Like, of course, that's true in a vacuum, you know. But in I Had an Accident, the reason that SpongeBob doesn't hang out with his friends is because he's afraid of the outside world, because he got hurt and he has an irrational fear. It's his character flaw. He would have had fun with his friends. So him inconveniencing his friends in I Had an Accident is not this whole every man is an island, he's only inconveniencing himself. No, he is inconveniencing his friends because of the nuance of understanding their friendship dynamic, and also understanding like friendship in general, that like that's not always a hard and fast rule where it's like, oh, well, like it's okay that you don't want to hang out with your friends. Like, of course that's okay if it's like, oh, well, like I'm really burned out today, I'm really tired, oh, I worked so hard, I need a day off, you know, like these are valid reasons to like not hang out with your friends, you know, like, and they could be very small reasons. I'm tired is enough, but I don't want to hang out with you because I'm irrationally afraid of the outside world. And if that were not true, if I were not irrationally afraid of the outside world, I would hang out with you. It's not a valid reason to not hang out with your friends at all. And thus, your friends having a worse day without you because of that is your fault. That is you inconveniencing them in that specific scenario. You're not inconveniencing your friends if you're just tired. You have a right to be tired. Absolutely. But, you know, a character flaw is a character flaw. But so those are just nonsense examples.
SpongeBob keeps choosing not to see it, whether he's pretending or not. And I think that's the thing that...
Whether he's pretending or not, no, he's written to be oblivious. He wouldn't be pretending. That's the flaw with the episode, is that he's way too oblivious in a way that's believable, even for the character, even for a cartoon. Again, with this pretending or not, he did this with Patrick earlier. The AI will like apply these motivations that don't make sense for these characters, saying that what they're doing is like sinister, like Machiavellian. It's probably because AI wants to be conspiratorial because it's more dramatic and it's going towards the sensationalist. So that's probably why it's more inclined to act like Patrick wanted to troll SpongeBob in Secret Box, or that SpongeBob was acting like he didn't know when he did in Pal for Gary. No, he's supposed to be oblivious. Like, that's the bad writing. But that's the bad writing, is that's not realistic that he's oblivious, but there's no element of it that's written for him to be doing it on purpose.
That sometimes his childishness doesn't have any consequences for him personally. In the previous example...
his childishness doesn't have any consequences for him personally. It's like exactly what I said.
Here, Gary pays the price for whatever reason, and SpongeBob walks away having learned absolutely nothing. Now, some of you might...
It's exactly what I said. It's exactly what I said. It's like not like it's AI. Can I copy your homework? But like I said, that Gary didn't get punished, or Gary got punished. SpongeBob didn't get punished. It's saying the same thing. I'm going to move up my consulting fee. I'm going to say I want 55%. SpongeTruths, all right? You know what? I think I should get 60%. I want 60% of the revenue, SpongeTruths. I mean, clearly you're not paying your editors that much anyway. You know, I can tell from the quality of the editing. So
argue that this was closer to a neglectful parents kind of situation.
70%, we'll see if he takes anything else.
But I would also argue that neglectful parents can be viewed as acting in a childish manner in a psychological sense.
Oh, right, this is like a childish... like, he's not childish in A Pal for Gary. He's oblivious in A Pal for Gary. It's not even... that's not a childish thing.
It often stems from extreme emotional immaturity, narcissism, or just a...
Narcissism? Oh my goodness, with the therapy speak, man. Bro, I mean, obligatory, I think Gen AI should be banned in general, and I think that's a great reason. What we just are seeing right here is a great reason why. But if AI is going to be around, if it's going to be a thing, it needs to not use words like narcissism. Okay? It needs to not, it can't. Like, even like pro AI people, you gotta meet me halfway here. All right, it can't say narcissist. Do you know how dangerous that? Do you know how dangerous the fact that an AI even can say narcissism is? Because think about it. What good would ever come from an AI saying narcissist, saying that word? Perhaps it could correctly identify someone as being a narcissist. Okay. Weigh that again. First of all, really only a therapist can correctly, even a person can't correctly identify someone as being a narcissist in most situations. Obviously, there could be times where it's like, you're like, yeah, that person's a narcissist, and you can kind of figure it out with yourself. But in a actual like therapeutic sense, only a therapist can actually say this person is a narcissist. It is a specific kind of mental state that has certain conditions that are it and certain conditions that are not. And you have to be a professional in order to properly diagnose that. And if you are not, yes, you can throw the word around, like if you, say you know someone who's a real ass and you're like, yeah, that person's a narcissist, like flippantly, like, sure, like that's fine. But AI is never just saying things flippantly, because you only ask AI for stuff if it's like important, right? So it saying narcissist is never good. Whereas if you're a person and you're like having like, problems with someone and you're talking with someone about it and they're like, I don't know, they sound like kind of a narcissist, like that could be fine. But there's no situation where an AI saying that's a narcissist, any AI saying that's a narcissist, they're diagnosing it. Anytime. There's no casual thing of, oh, that kind of sound like a narcissist. A friend can say that, but an AI really will never say that. So if we're going to have these things, which I think we shouldn't, it should at least not say narcissist or gaslighting or any of that stuff. It shouldn't say that stuff. There's no reason for it to. I feel like if you know someone well enough, you could potentially say they are a narcissist. Yeah, but people have nuance. So like people can be like, yeah, like if you know someone who has like an abusive parent and you're like, they seem like kind of a narcissist, that can be helpful language because your friend or your partner or anyone that you're close to who might be dealing with a narcissist in their life, even if they're not formally diagnosed. After all, many narcissists, I mean, one of the problems with being a narcissist is you probably don't get therapy. So many narcissists go undiagnosed, obviously. But like with your friend, yeah, like if you have like a friend or a partner or someone who's like dealing with a narcissist in their life or someone who you think is a narcissist and you use that word, you're a person, so you have the nuance to it. But if you go to an AI and you're like, this person is treating me bad and the AI calls them a narcissist, first of all, the AI is biased in your favor. Whereas if you could be biased towards your friend's favor. Sure, any person can. But there's so much more of a human element that can make throwing that word around okay. In some situations, by the way, a person can overuse the word narcissist and use narcissist in the wrong way. Absolutely. But with a person, it could work in some situations. An AI will always lead to problems. Although an AI saying anything always leads to problems. So maybe that's just a symptom of that. But anyway, just don't use AI for therapy is the point. Just don't use AI is fine. But like if you're going to use AI, yeah, don't use it for therapy. Well, no, it's actually not. That's actually not what I'm saying. I'm not saying don't use AI for therapy. I mean, that's obvious that you shouldn't use AI for therapy. I mean, you shouldn't use AI. But if you are going to use AI, don't use it for therapy. Obviously, it's more dangerous to use AI for therapy than it is to use it for like a recipe. You shouldn't use it for a recipe either because you shouldn't use it at all. But like, there are differences. The problem with AI using the word narcissist is that it could use that word if you're not using it for therapy at all. You don't have to be using it for therapy. You could just be complaining about someone. You could be like, my mother wants us to go to this restaurant on my birthday because the other one is, you could say like, oh, my mother wants us to go to this restaurant I don't like or something. And like you leave out context, you don't say that the restaurant you wanted to go to closed and it was on short notice or something. And the AI will be like, your mother sounds like a narcissist when like your mother's fine. You know what I mean? Like it could be anything like that, So no, it's not even necessarily therapy. It's just that it will throw that word. I mean, put it in this video, SpongeTruths wasn't using this AI for therapy. They told it to write them a video and it used the term narcissist.
So yeah, childish is a pretty broad word when it comes to SpongeBob, because at its best,
it doesn't mean anything. Like you ended like that. Childish is a pretty broad word to refer to SpongeBob. Yeah, you just recapped episodes and vaguely referred to it as being childish.
Just SpongeBob being fully present, completely committed to whatever small thing was in front of him.
It's just saying so much to say nothing. It's about SpongeBob was doing stuff. Like, come on. And it can get away with sounding profound. Like, people will listen to that and be like, yeah. And it means nothing. This makes people dumb. It does. No hate on you if you ever watched this and you felt like it was profound. When I say it makes people dumb, I'm not saying you're dumb because you watched it. I'm saying that it's not good for you. These videos are not good for you. They aren't expanding your mind, and you should always be watching stuff that expands your mind. I do believe that, because you can either watch something that doesn't expand your mind or something that does. It can only be one of those two things. So why not watch something that expands your mind every time? And, like, I get it. You'll be like, oh, well, sometimes I don't want to think too much. Well, first of all, that might be problematic for yourself. Like, that might not be a good attitude for you to be like, oh, I just want to turn my brain off. Like, that might lead to you being less intelligent. It might lead to you being depressed because you don't think about the world enough and you get like scared and nervous about everything. It might just lead to you having worse problem solving skills, which could harm you like financially or emotionally. It's like there's a lot of problems with that in general, but also like, don't think of it like when I'm have less energy, I want to watch something like SpongeTruths where I turn my brain off. Instead, think of it like, okay, you watch something a little easier, like a SpongeBob episode. Like a SpongeBob episode is easy to watch in classic SpongeBob. Those episodes all had lessons. Those episodes all expanded your mind. Not everything that you have to watch has to be like, here's how the earth was formed, science, like it doesn't always have to be that much, but it has to be something, and you'll be better off for it. Your videos have changed how I see writing in all media. Love your content, and I'm really happy to have made it to stream tonight. Oh, thank you for being here. I really hope that I can have some kind of effect on how people view media, because I just think even great creators, even creators who I respect a lot, I just think we haven't really focused on it that much. I think that there are things about media that we must know. Like, people must know that every episode of a show should have a lesson, because every episode of classic SpongeBob had a lesson. So I don't know why, we wouldn't like know that, like put it to paper or something. But it seems like I'm the only guy who's really talking about it. Not every lesson is a heavy lesson to learn. Exactly. That's because like everything has to have a lesson, but not every lesson has to be heavy. That I think is a very good dichotomy, that because people keep arguing with me with that. They keep going like you think everything, like not some things can just be fun, and it's like, no, it's fun. It can be more fun if it's a little lighter. There's a balance with it, The problem is everyone assumes that something isn't fun if it expands your mind. Yeah, that's anti-intellectualism. Hey, this is Future Jackson here, and So SpongeTruths actually changed the thumbnail on the video that I covered. Well, for me, it's a few days ago, but if you're watching this on the podcast channel, it's going to be right after. And it's SpongeBob with the tan line. Patrick, is that supposed to be Patrick looking at that? And then Patrick laying, what is this? And why is it blurring his butt? This shot was in the episode. It's just his butt. Why are you blurring it? What is that? This was the original thumbnail. Look, see, I screenshotted it. This was the thumbnail at first. And it's the reason that I thought that he was stealing from me. So they changed the thumbnail on the SpongeBob's Most Childish Moments. The reason that I'm talking about it right now is I'm about to cover this, how many parents banned SpongeBob, but I noticed they changed the thumbnail on Too Far and it's completely incoherent. You have like SpongeBob with the tan line and then it's 2 shots of Patrick. I feel like it's supposed to be communicating that this is actually Patrick. Like that's what it would be communicating for me. You know, in like 4 panels, you read left, right, and then bottom to bottom right. So it'd be like that, shocked, and then censored butt, and then relaxed. I don't get it. I don't get it at all. Why would you be? Wouldn't the censored one be the worst one? Why would you be shocked at the one that they didn't have to censor? And that's SpongeBob, not Patrick. I don't know. I don't know why they would change it to this thumbnail. The original thumbnail that it was, I mean, it wasn't like it was a weird thumbnail, but anyway, I just wanted to address that they changed it. And it's also just like super creepy. Like SpongeTruths has been really creepy lately. SpongeTruths knows, at least I guess I can't say they know, but I think that they know that a large portion of their audience is kids. The only way that they wouldn't know is if they just didn't go into their channel analytics and just never check them. But also, I think the reason that I think that they know that so much of their audience is kids is because they edit the videos in that way with all of the like stuff like flying in, you know, the editing is very, let's keep the younger audience engaged. So I feel like they do know. I feel like the people behind SpongeTruths, while they do make idiotic choices, they absolutely know enough about YouTube and how it works that I really do, again, allege, but I really strongly allege that they know that kids watch their content, which makes this all the more sinister, which makes this gross thumbnail all the more sinister. We've talked about it before, you know, the what if Mr. Krabs does a fetish video. We know there's just so, anyway, that's really gross. Yeah, I just wanted to point that out.